My next guest is a flyweight contender from Fort Worth, Texas, and at LFA 163, he won his sixth professional fight. He is one of the most gifted flyweight contenders in the country. His name is Kevin Fernandez. Kevin, it's great to see you again.
It's good to see you too, bro. How you been?
I have been watching you fight over the past year, man. Dude, you have been looking absolutely phenomenal. Three fights, three finishes. It looks like a switch in you is like flipped ever since the Harris fight.
Man, yeah, after that fight, it was a big change. Like I felt like something was kind of, lifted off my shoulders since I got that first loss. It was almost like now I don't know. I always remember hearing Kevin Holland. He said something like, we're not gonna retire with a pretty record anymore, so we might as well go crazy or some shit like that. And I was like, for reals, dude, like now I'm gonna go all the way in, dude. Like not be reckless in the cage, but I'm just gonna let go a little bit more, you know what I'm saying? Because like now I don't got shit to lose, you know what I mean? I've already lost. So it's like I don't know, it was kind of a different change in my mindset, and I definitely knew I had to turn it up a notch because like that was like he beat me fair and square, but I feel like I still took it to him, like and I wasn't even ready like for that fight, honestly. So I'm like, I know I can hang with all of these dudes out here, so I just gotta train 100%, and I should be beating all these dudes, like because I've always beat people with no strength and conditioning. I got to give a big shout out to my strength and conditioning coach, Shug Dorsey, because as soon as I came back from losing that fight, and then I was scheduled to, then I ended up booking a fight to fight in Colorado against Jorvik for LFA, and then yeah, we started training straight to conditioning, and that's what I feel like helped me out a lot. It was like boost your confidence up, and I finally was able to unlock these different abilities. Like with my body being stronger and faster, and all these different attributes. It was insane, bro.
I know you're not like a jiu-jitsu black belt or anything like that, but these fights, I think of you, I think of striking, but for whatever reason, these fights get to the ground. And even though like I would consider you a striker, like your top control is excellent. Your scrambles are excellent. And I feel like you give a lot of people problems on the ground. And I was just kind of curious, like, can you talk to me at all about like your grappling, your wrestling? Because I think it's a striking, but those are the two keys to your game that I think have improved the most.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Like I got pretty good grappling, but I am I feel like a striker. Like that's my base, but I don't know. I think really it's just kind of like fighting overall is the way I kind of call it. And my grappling style is just that. It's not wrestling or jujitsu. I just call it grappling or like submission wrestling, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of like a blend of the two, but it's all put together kind of from fighting. Like I take into account the pressure and the exhaustion that we both might be feeling. You know what I mean? I've always studied all the arts individually, and I like grappling a lot, and I've had a lot of good grappling coaches, and I feel like with this past fight, I got to give a lot of props to my new grappling coach, Charlie Blanchard. He's been helping me out a lot with my wrestling and with my jujitsu and working for finishes. And yeah, I've always just took the approach of like, well, once I started getting better at grappling, because starting out, I had the same problem that a lot of strikers do is like fall into your back and welcoming the guard. And I guess even now and then, I might still show signs of that kind of stuff. So I still got to work on it. But I like the wrestling base, like George St. Pierre, heavy top control. It's not good to be on your back when people are punching you in the face.
The Acevedo fight, you put him away in the first round. You knock out your second opponent, Robinson, LFA 163. We looked at it, and you were going to fight Javier Cepeda. He was a 3-0 guy. And I looked at him and I did a little bit of homework on him, and I was impressed by this guy. I was like, wow, this guy's like not a joke. Like this guy's a really skillful opponent. What made you say yes to this? And were you and Coach T kind of talking about amongst yourselves like, man, this guy's like a tough dude. Like, are we ready for this? Like, can you tell me a little bit? Like, what made you and Coach T say yes to this guy?
Honestly, dude, I pretty much always say yes. Like whenever they send me the fights, and I say yes, dude. Like I never said no to anything. unless I was hurt. I mean, I've never said no, honestly, bro. Like, and they sent me this guy. I immediately said yes, and then I went to go look him up. And then whenever I seen him, I had actually just watched one of his older fights, which was from like 8 years ago, which is around the time I started fucking training. And this guy was having like an amateur MMA fight, and I was like, yeah, I can beat this guy. Like he's good, but I can beat him. And then I ended up watching another fight of his that was like from 5 months ago, and he's like beating the shit out of this guy. And then he's showing good ass boxing. Then I found out he's a pro boxer. I mean, either way, I'm like, hell, like I knew he was good from the beginning. And I mean, all these years later, and then I realized, okay, now he's pretty good. He's really good. He's a strong striker. And I mean, that excites me, because I don't want to. I've never taken these easy fights, dude. I'm always fighting the good guys, the veterans, the skilled, strong opponents, and fighting for the big promotion, LFA. So it's good to fight tough opponents. I don't want to be training for some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Because then, what's the point of getting like a good? That last win that I had it was for a smaller uh promotion, and it didn't really like satisfy me. Or I didn't want to like take that and run with it, because I don't know, I guess I've just been with LFA, and I feel like it's a high level promotion. So fighting for a smaller regional scene is like it's not really what I want to be doing.
For Cepeda in particular, you hit on something, Kevin, that I think is really important. This guy will hurt you. Like this guy is a great boxer, a good striker, just like you. And I can see why a lot of people struggle against him. What was the game plan when you and Coach T were sitting down with your grappling coach, with your strength and conditioning coach, and you guys are together watching this guy? What was kind of like the game plan that you guys came up with for fight night?
Well, I mean, the game plan was kind of just to do what I do. Honestly, Coach D has so much like belief in me, or I don't know if it's the belief in his coaching system or what it is, but he's always like, I'm not worried about this guy, bro. He's like, I'm not even worried about this guy. He's just got such a chill way of doing it. But he was just like that. He believed I could beat him, and that, yeah, I mean, he's seen that the guy is strong, but it's just kind of our style. It's like the moving style and to flow and all this kind of stuff. So, coach, it was just to stick with what we normally do, like hit and don't get hit, and then we can get him down. We felt that I had the better grappling anyways, so that I can move and strike and take him down if I needed to, and just let the fight play how it might play. But basically, just like we could tell this guy was an aggressive, so we had to be technical with it and you know stick and move.
One of the keys that I remember was you're striking from top control and you hit him with a pretty severe elbow and you busted this guy up. And as soon as you busted him up, I always get curious because when I see that, it looks cool. Number one, I'm like, oh, hell yeah, that's awesome. But then for you, I'm thinking to myself, like, oh man, does that make the submissions that much more difficult because you're sweaty? There's blood all over the place now. Like, do you have to maybe think a little bit more about how you set up your submissions when you see a guy bleeding all over the place, or do you not even care? Doesn't or am I making a bigger deal out of it than what it really is?
No, I mean it could be a problem, but I don't really think of that because I mean it didn't cross my mind at all. I was just focused on the fight. I do remember seeing blood, and I was wondering if it was him or me because I had actually gotten a little cut like 3 or 4 weeks ago before the fight in sparring, and whenever I seen some blood, and you can smell the blood too, bro, when you're up close. I smelled it, and then I seen like some blood, but I wasn't sure if it was old or new. And then I seen it like smear around and stuff, and I was like, okay, it is blood. And I was like, is that me or him? And then he was like turning around and moving, and I seen it smearing more and new blood appearing, and I was like, okay, that's him. But I was never thinking about like, if it's gonna be slippery or not. Besides, I'm trying to stay tight anyway, so I don't know. I'm not thinking about that at all.
Where did you see the opportunity to get that arm triangle in? How did you set up the finish?
Man, I catch that arm triangle all the time in training. It's like I finished my second pro fight with that same choke, and I had almost got the third guy I fought in Indiana with that choke, but I made some mistakes. And even in that fight that I lost against Harris, I think I might have had him in an arm triangle at one point. I just couldn't, like, I had some mistakes, but I'm always locking up the head and the arm together. It always happens for me. A lot of times I'll get it with like, well, this guy I was mounted and then he started turning over, and I didn't let him turn over all the way, and I just took it right there from the side because it presented itself. But it's just like a high percentage move, as my old coach James Vick would call it. High percentage submissions. That's what he likes. A lot of chokes, head and arm.
6-1 now. And when I think about the LFA flyweight division, like you're talking about like one of the most competitive, one of the most difficult weight classes for any regional promotion. And I've said this on the record time and time again. Like, look at all of these flyweights that are in the LFA, and all of these guys are freaking good. And I don't think a good portion of the top contenders probably shouldn't even be at this level. They should probably already be in Bellator or the UFC or whatever. But like for you, it's kind of a weird situation. Like you're 6-1, and I feel like the UFC, like I feel like that's like an opportunity that's really close for you. But then there's also the idea of like maybe fighting Cody Davis for the LFA flyweight title. Like you're the type of guy where I think you have a pretty open mind. Like if the UFC calls you, you're down for that. If the LFA calls you and they ask you if you're ready to fight Cody, you would probably say yes to that too. But like, when you think about both of those, like for right now, you're only 23 years old. Like you'll be 24 next month. Like what makes sense for you at this point in time? Because you're still a young guy with a lot of time left.
Well, I see you remember my birthday, Tyler. I appreciate that.
Good friend, man. I know these things. Your
Yeah,
birthday's easy to remember because it's all nines.
that's true. And remember, I got that victory on my birthday, right?
I do remember. I'm a good friend. What can I say? Look at
Yeah,
you.
it's true. Mom's basement for life.
That's right, baby.
Uh, but the next thing I think would be those two things that you said, fighting for the LFA title. That's what I would like to do, become the champion of my division, and then, or if not, I'll step in for whatever, UFC, Dana White's Contender Series. Those two are the things that I want. I want the next biggest thing. So that's what I'm waiting for.
Cody Davis, I'd love to get your opinion on this guy. Like, he is having a lot of success. He's a great wrestler. And did you watch his last fight? Like when he beat, I don't even remember his opponent, but I was wondering if you watched his last fight where he won the title.
No, I didn't watch it. I seen that, and I seen that it was a, I think, third round knockout
Mhm.
with TKO. That's good. Yeah, I mean, I think we were supposed to fight, or they had offered me to fight him a few fights back, and I think it didn't go through on his part or what. But that would have been, I think he had just came off a loss at the time, so he wasn't probably fighting. I don't know, but I would definitely love to to get the belt. So to get the belt or to go to the UFC, either one, whichever comes next. But those are the next two things that I'm looking for.
When you watching these guys fight, do you think to yourself like, man, these guys like aren't that much better than me, or these guys aren't better than me? Like I'm ready to fight these guys like right now, or those are the types of things that you think about.
I mean, yeah, of course. Sometimes I'll see certain guys fighting, and I'll be like, damn, like those dudes are good. Like I see what he's doing. Like I need to get on my shit, or I need to work on this. I'm gonna want to fight this guy in the future or something. And then there's other guys that you see, and I'm like, bro, how the fuck is this dude in here, but I'm not? I'm like, man, I'll smoke that guy. Yeah, so some guys are better than others and whatnot, but I'm always humble, so I know anybody can beat anybody on any day. So I got to train and just focus on improving my skills.
Jake Paul's going to be boxing here, and he's going to be going up against Nate Diaz. Now, everybody is saying Nate Diaz is not going to win this fight. Jake Paul's going to win, fair or unfair. That's just what Vegas, the odds say. In your mind, what does Nate Diaz need to do to win this fight? And do you think he will win this fight?
I don't know. I don't know if he will win the fight. I think he can. Um, I mean, he's a better fighter overall. It's just that Jake is young, and he's been working strictly boxing for a while. So I think what's his face? Diaz would just need to fight like a slick fight, like staying long and jab with pressure and whatnot. I like the way he fought Michael Johnson. If you remember that fight back in the day,
Mhm.
he was real slick with it, and he was like calm about the way he fought him. I think that's what he should do is just stay on the outside, stick the jab. That would be good for him.
The fight's in Texas, in Dallas, right?
Yeah,
So what's up with that? They gotta let the little dragon in for free, right?
I don't know, bro. This is a crazy question. I haven't even thought about that shit. I forgot that was gonna happen, dude.
Yeah, it's this weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's on the 4th.
I'll probably watch it on YouTube, like, and with the shitty quality. You know what I'm talking about? Like 14 minutes after the fight happens.
Nah, you're gonna buy the pay-per-view, I think is what I'm
Oh,
gonna say. You're gonna buy the pay-per-view. That's
no.
that's what I heard you just say.
I probably won't watch it. But
Uh, and for Justin Gaethje, he just knocked out Dustin Poirier. It was an amazing fight. He hit that head kick. It was freaking beautiful. For Justin Gaethje, who would you like to see him fight next? Would you like to see him fight Conor McGregor, or would you like to see him maybe challenge for the lightweight title against Islam?
well, he needs to. It would be the winner, right, of Islam and Oliveira, because I think they're scheduled to fight already.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
yeah, I think that'd be. I guess he's deserving of that. I don't really know what the top five is looking like right now, but I mean, if he got the opportunity to fight McGregor, that'd be good for him too. To get a payday. But I think he's next in line for that belt to fight the winner of Oliveira and Makhachev.
One final question. Kevin Holland, he fought and he looked absolutely incredible. That was one of the best performances I've seen out of Kevin Holland. Looked very impressive against Michael Chiesa. When you watch that fight, I mean, you see what he's doing at welterweight. What's changed with Kevin Holland? Like he looks completely different as a welterweight compared to middleweight. I know at the end he said that, yeah, I'm trying to get back up to 85. I'm trying to have a good time and go back up to 85, but he looks incredible. Where do you see the future going for Kevin Holland? Like, what do you think's next for him?
I think probably stick around at welterweight. Um, I know he's got some big fights coming up there, and probably eventually get back into the. I don't know if he's ranked in the top 10, but just keep getting closer. I don't. I know he's not worried about that belt, but I think that he's just gonna keep getting closer and closer to that and fighting ranked guys. Because if he just keeps winning and looking like good, like he's doing, it's gonna be a good time for him.
Well, make sure that you thank him for me. I put a little bit of action on your boy, and he did all right by me. So I appreciate that. Make sure he knows that.
All
Tell,
right, I'll let him know.
tell him I said thank you for the steak dinner.
But
Kevin, I want to give you the opportunity, man. If there's anyone out there that you'd like to thank, I know you have a lot of sponsors that make or that take care of you to make sure that you can fight as often as you do. So if there's anyone you need to talk about before I let you go, let's do it.
well, I just want to give a shout out to Coach D, Lamb Four, my grappling coach Charlie Blanchard, Aces Jiu Jitsu, all my family and friends, my strength and conditioning coach CD Powertrain, Shug Dorsey. Shout out to Kevin Holland for helping me out, and shout out to my management, co-reps, sponsors, Humble, Skilled Violence, Back in Motion, Chiropractor, Smart Stop Self Storage, and Results Roofing. And shout out to Mom's Basement for being the OG.